You know, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking a lot of film noir on the channel in recent days. Majority of it's been on television, but we're going to be talking about the big screen a little bit over the next few. Now, this one was the first major release, what was considered the classic era of film noir. It came out in 1940, and a very, very strong movie starring Peter Lorre. It's called Strangers on the Third Floor. Came out in 1940, directed by Boris Inkster and starring Laurie, John McGuire, and Margaret Talichet, and featuring the great Elisha Cook Jr. It was written by Frank Partos, and modern research has shown that Italian West wrote the final version of the screenplay, but it was uncredited. Now, this is again often cited as the first true film of the 1940-59 film noir golden era, though other films that fit the genre, such as Rebecca and The Drive by Night, were released earlier. Nonetheless, it has many of the hallmarks of film noir: an urban setting, heavy shadows, diagonal lines, voiceover narration, a dream sequence, low camera angle shooting up multi-story staircases, and an innocent protagonist desperate to clear himself after being falsely accused of a crime. Now, in this one, reporter Michael Ward is the key witness in a murder or trial. His evidence that he saw the accused, Joe Briggs, standing over the body of a man in a diner, is instrumental in having Briggs found guilty. Afterwards, Ward's fiancée, Jane, begins worrying that Ward may not have been correct in what he saw. Eventually, Ward becomes haunted by this question. One evening outside his room in the house where he lives, Ward sees an odd-looking stranger, played by Peter Lorre. He chases his man down the stairs and out the front door, where Ward loses track of him. Ward feels that his neighbor, a man he hates, may have been killed by the stranger. Ward has a terrifying dream in which a neighbor is indeed murdered, and he comes under suspicion. It turns out the neighbor was killed the same way as the man in the diner. Ward finds the body, notifies police, and points out the similarities in the two murders. He is arrested, and in order to clear him, Jane seeks to find the strange man. Now, Jane, played by Margaret Talichet, eventually married William Wyler on October 23rd, 1938, at the lakeside home of Walter Hewson, and continued to make films, including, again, Stranger on the Third Floor. She did only make 2 films more before she retired from acting. Now, this was Inkster's directorial debut. He was born in Latvia and was formerly a writer and associate of noted Russian director Sergei Eisenstein. Inkster would later become a TV producer, and this was only one of 3 feature films he directed in his career. Now, this was distributed and produced by RKO. In the introduction to the TCM Noir Rally presentation of the film, Eddie Muller compared the style of film to that of German expressionist movies. Jeremy Arnold writes that the film's extraordinary look and tone are the product of stylized sets, bizarre angles and lighting, and a powerful blurring of dream and reality, qualities strongly influenced by German expressionist films of the 1920s. Now, in their book King of the Bees, Todd McCarthy and Charles Flynn wrote that Stranger on the Third Floor is extremely audacious in terms of what he seeks to say about American society. The Trial of the Ex-Con is a vicious rendering of the American legal system, hard at work on an impoverished victim. The sinister role of police and prosecutors in obtaining confessions and convictions are hallmarks of the hard-boiled literature that paralleled and predicted what we call film noir. Now, Van Ness Paul Galassi, who has been called one of the most influential production designers of American cinema, was the film's art director. He had previously worked on King Kong in 1933 and The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1939, and also worked on the sets for Citizen Kane. Now, you see in this, it is almost like a tryout for Citizen Kane, the angles and the lighting that's used in this movie. There's a lot of parallels. Now, his work on Stranger on the Third Floor contributes mightily to the claustrophobic feel in the movie. Now, Muller calls the work on his film spectacular. In addition, the work of special effects artist Vernon L. Walker was excellent despite the constraints of a B-movie budget. The score by Roy Webb, who was RK's house composer at the time, contributes significantly to the film's move. Now, New York Times didn't like it. Crowther, one of the reviewers of New York Times, called it pretentious and derivative of French and Russian films. Now, staff writer Variety also said the movie was derivative and wrote, "The familiar artifice of placing the scribe in parallel plight with a newspaper man arrested for 2 slayings and only clearing himself because of the sweetheart's persistent search for real slayer is used up." Now, Dave Kerr Chicago Reader said, an RKB film from 1940 done up in high Hollywood expressionism. It's absurdly overwrought, but interesting for it. The director is better with shadows than in actors. Venetian blinds cover up the characters with more fearful, fateful force than Schreider's similar gamut in American Gigolo. Now, one film reviewer, P.S. Harrison, wrote that at the film's conclusion, one feels that one has gone through a nightmare. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 86%, with an average rating of 6.6 out of 10, based on 7 professional reviews. I give it a 3 stars out of 4 because when you got Peter Lorre involved in such a great project, this is well before the Maltese Falcon. Now, aspect of his characterization in M, the German serial killer movie, we really don't know anything about the stranger because that's what he's called, the stranger, the unknown evil, the unknown force. And film noir is like that. We don't really know how evil someone can be until they show it, or don't know what will transpire until the evil is finally brought forth. Sometimes the hero becomes the villain, sometimes the villain becomes the hero, or both. Anyway, it's worth seeking out. You can find it on TCM or other streaming services. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's our latest film noir showcase. If you like what we're doing here with a little bit of movie history, let us know with a like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye.